We saw some rookie quarterbacks over the weekend, not named CJ Stroud. I watched the video because obviously you'll see statistics. Bryce Young first with Carolina. He looks like a kicker out there. He really looks like a kicker. It's partly his size. It's partly his helmet and number. And the fact that he has no tattoos makes him look even smaller. He really does look like a kicker. And there were 2 plays where he got absolutely smoked. Just killed. So, gotta wonder about that side of things with Bryce Young. His first throw downfield was high and out of bounds. He had miscommunication on a comeback route on 3rd and 5. I gotta say, if there was an interception, we'd be criticizing Bryce Young on the same level that we're criticizing CJ Stroud. Wasn't a very good performance. How about Anthony Richardson with the Indianapolis Colts? Shane Steichen said he showed great poise. He has a fun delivery. He'll throw some of his passes sidearmed and some of his passes overhand. Kind of a Vince Young feel to the throwing style that he has. And he really zips those sidearm throws that he makes.
Yeah.
Threw a terrible interception on one of his first passes. He hesitated, pump faked. It was nowhere near anyone. It was way worse than the CJ Stroud interception because you don't know who he threw it to. It seemed like he threw it directly to a defensive back. He had some weird throws under pressure with that sidearm motion. You can really tell he's raw. He had one nice throw downfield. His wide receiver couldn't catch the ball. And there was only one play that he ran on, and it got called back by a hold. Definitely looks like somebody who can run people over, though.
So it feels like it was like the Florida Anthony Richardson experience, so. Just boiled down into a preseason game of look pretty cool, had some cool sidearm throws, and then also he threw a pick where you didn't know who he was throwing to.
100%, yes. We also saw Will Levis. I got to say, and Jeremy Branham, hope your ears are perking up right now. Having watched the clips of all of those quarterbacks, Levis was essentially alternating series with Malik Willis, who got the start for Tennessee. I thought that Levis looked pretty good. Now, take everything with a grain of salt here, but his first 3 passes were very accurate. He looks the part, and he had an awful interception to end the game, but the throw before, he hit a guy that was wide open over the middle, and the guy just dropped it. Now, there's like 16 seconds left, so he catches that ball. They might not have been able to get up to the ball in time and spike it, but he throws an interception on the very next play. I thought of all the quarterbacks that I watched the clips of, that Levis looked the most impressive. Take it all with a grain of salt. It's the preseason, right?
From last night's game, it was pretty much how everything I saw. Defensively, I thought the guys, they flew around really well. We talk about the swarm mentality. That's what it looks like. Guys were running, they were hitting, it was physical, and it was fun to watch.
That's D'Amico Ryans talking about the Texans' preseason performance Thursday, a 20-9 victory over the New England Patriots at his Friday post-game press conference. They are loving that word swarm. And if you've been out at Texans training camp, you might have seen that they've been pushing some new merchandise. Got this blue shirt, and it says, "Iron sharpens iron." Okay. That rolls off the tongue. It's a tad overplayed, though, no? I saw DJ Bien-Aimé, my Talkin' Texans podcast co-host, who joins us on a variety of different shows here at ESPN 97.5. He said that is legitimately straight from the Bible. But does iron really sharp iron? I don't know. I do feel like it is a saying that is used a lot. And I got to say, not consistent with the mindset of iron sharpening iron is practicing inside the bubble on Saturday when it's 101 degrees out. I don't want to call out the Texans and stuff, as somebody who's been walking to work, to and from, over the last week through 100-degree heat. Yeah, I'm a hero. Doing the same thing to go to my gym as well. Well, that's about a 3-mile round trip. I'm sharpening my own iron with my own iron. And the Texans, meanwhile, are practicing inside when it's 101 degrees outside. Can you really sharpen iron if you're practicing inside?
So I looked up, does iron sharpen iron? Apparently it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it would.
I guess it would make sense in like a diamond cutting a diamond kind of way, but like iron isn't a diamond. So yeah, I don't know how this saying came about. I don't know if people were just really bad at blacksmithing back in the day.
Probably, that's it.
But yeah, iron does not sharpen iron.
Okay, so we're pushing fake news.
Yeah.
Misinformation.
Bad saying.
Disinformation and misinformation. Where is Twitter? Check that. Where is X? Where's Facebook Threads to step in here and stop the spread of this nonsense? Because we're not even really sharpening the iron either. They're practicing inside on Saturdays. What's up with that? I don't get it. Anyway, also, guess what, guys? Yesterday at practice for the Houston Texans, there was a dust-up. Devin Singletary got hit hard by Christian Harris, and he decided that he didn't like getting hit hard by Christian Harris and essentially wanted to throw hands right away. So both sides started going dust-up mode. There was a Donnybrook, a kerfuffle, and eventually things were separated. After practice, DeMeco Ryans was asked about this incident. Here's what he had to say.
To see scuffling in training camp, I would say finally we actually see, some guys, that's what training camp is about. Sometimes you're going to get tired of hitting the same guy over and over again, right? It's the linebackers and running backs, they're going to thud up a lot in practice. And, of course, we want to be safe. We want to make sure we keep guys up. But also it's going to get a little edgy. It's going to get a little chippy, and that's how I want to play. Offensively, defense, I want to play with the edge. I want to play with the chip on our shoulder, but also we still have to play within the rules. So it's part of camp. You see it. It's not the worst thing that happened because, it just shows guys, they truly care about what they're doing. They want to be really good at it. It's just two really good competitors going at each other, which I don't have a problem with.
It's not a good look for DeMeco Ryans. He might already be on the hot seat when you take a look at both of these comments. Because first off, did you hear him just say that fighting is okay? Iron sharpens iron. Fine. Misinformation, disinformation, not even practicing outside when it's 101 degrees. So how true can that even be, even if iron sharpening iron was a thing? And on top of that, you're cool with fights? Hey, DeMeco, I get it. You won the first preseason game of the season on the road against the New England Patriots. It's a tough place to play, but we got to focus here. Fighting is wrong. Everyone knows it. Everyone. And here he is afterwards saying, finally, there's a fight out there. Come on, DeMeco.
I can't believe a football coach would promote violence.
In 2023 of all years.
Yeah, violence has no place in the game of football. Let me be the first to say that.
It doesn't. The refs are seeing to it. It's flag football now, not real football.
Do you wish that football had become flag football like when you were still coming up, when you're in like high school or something?
Yeah,
you would dominate.
You're right, Sean.
If it was flag football.
If it was just flag, we're talking about one of the greatest flag football players to ever play as a media member in the city of Houston, primarily sports media, because I can't really determine whether or not people in other platforms are, on the same level as me. But Probably not. You're right, Sean. You're right. Okay, as far as actual serious takeaways from practice over the last couple of days, here's probably the one tandem that the Texans have outside of Titus Howard and Laramie Tunsil. Howard's, of course, injured. That really is impressive on this team. It's the safety combination of Jalen Petrie and Jimmy Ward. We all liked what we saw out of Jalen Petrie last year, but really the only history that people here in Houston have with Jimmy Ward is that one time Jimmy Ward and DeAndre Hopkins got into a fight at Texans training camp practice. Yesterday, Jimmy Ward was an absolute monster out there. He had a deflected pass. He forced a fumble. He was flying all over the place. The star of practice on Sunday. Afterwards, DeMeco Ryans talked about it.
Yeah, what have I seen from Jimmy? I've seen a guy who looks, comfortable in what we're asking him to do. And you see a guy who is playing the way I've seen him play for several years now. He's playing with his hair on fire. He's all over the field. He's controlling the back end. And with the tandem of him and Petrie, it's just awesome to watch. Both guys play similar styles, flying around, not under control, but still making play. A lot of plays on the ball being made. We look at it today, I think Jimmy and Petrie probably made half of the plays on the defensive side of the ball. So it's fun. It's encouraging to see when, your veteran guys you're going to count on, making plays the way Jimmy has made. It's been fun. Now he just got to finish those interceptions.
Ward's played well. Petrie's played well. And the secondary of this Texans team, I do think, has some real potential. I know that Derek Stingley was, I think, limping at practice for a little bit on Sunday after he had deflected a pass. But generally, quarterbacks have avoided throwing Derek Stingley's way. That's generally a good sign. Also, on top of that, more guys on the defensive side of the football are really shining. Will Anderson, we've brought this up a couple of times, is basically just running by guys regularly. He continued to do the same thing at practice yesterday. And there's some other players on the defensive side of the football too, where you hear that word swarm. It's not just Petrie, Ward, Will Anderson. It's also Christian Harris, who was the guy that lit up Devin Singletary. It's Blake Cashman, who's been having a really good camp, especially with Christian Kirksey not getting as many reps because he's dealing with some sort of an injury, it seems like. You've also seen Henry To'oTo'o, the fifth-round pick out of Alabama, have his own little moments. Really, for the most part, it's been defensive players who are flashing. And it might make you a little bit underwhelmed. You're still seeing some good moments from CJ Stroud, specifically when he and Tank Dell are working together. I think after the practice, D'Amico said to Tank Dell as he stepped up to the podium, quote, "Stop taking our defense apart." But for the most part, it's been defensive players that have been shining. And you're hoping that that's going to translate into at least a competitive team this coming season. The defense last year was not good, specifically at the front levels. One, I would say, observation and something to keep an eye on, because we'll see if he's actually out there healthy today. Kenyon Green was on the sideline in sweatpants, a T-shirt, and a bucket hat. Was it a day off, or the Texans really minimizing the work that they're going to give their first-team offensive line because they don't want anyone to get hurt? Or is Kenyon Green perhaps dealing with something now? We'll have to wait and see.